As we continue our discussion on the generations of Pluto, we come to the Virgo generation, the children of Pluto in Leo and Cancer. I'm speaking quite frankly in this video, and it is not my intention to offend anyone, and this is not a judgment on any individual person in this generation, as much as it is an overall look at the impact that this generation had on humanity as a whole. I hope that it'll inspire thought and understanding that will lead us to a better place as a collective. Pluto and Virgo generation is from 1956 to 1971, currently aged 51 to 66 when this video was made in 2022. This generation was known as the free love generation. It was the 60s, a time when the youth went wild with sex, drugs, and rock and roll, as the Leo generation would say. With the influence of Mercury, free expression came through this generation with a boom. It was all about creative expression, art, music, connection to nature, and a sense of empowerment that came through communication with others of like mind. Pluto naturally causes a major overexpression of energies as it impacts any particular zodiac sign. With Virgo, that overexpression came in the form of rejecting their parents' ideologies and pursuing the concepts that challenged the ideals they were raised to accept. Concepts, ideas, ideals, and beliefs that Virgo generation would really bring to the forefront of our focus. This generation placed a lot of emphasis on environmental issues. They took on the mission to save the world. We can credit this generation for saving animals going into extinction, preserving national parks, cleaner water, and much more with regard to our environment. However, they were a little short-sighted when accounting for the realistic implementations of their fantastic Virgo ideas. Because of their ability to communicate such creative ideas paired with their natural ability to make things very contractual, Virgo generation had a tendency to fall into concepts and illusions that were less awesome when implemented. The 60s and 70s saw major changes on the social front. The ideologies that were implemented during the previous generations were becoming unacceptable in society. Virgo generation embraced and celebrated our cultural differences, races, and genders. They fought to change the ideologies that separated us as a human race. Free love, love your brother, and peace were all phrases that we identify with this generation. They wanted so much for us to live as one.
I hope someday you'll join us.
But through the blindness of their desire to help and improve things, they inadvertently created a serious divide that we will be healing for generations to come. A divide that came from singling out individuals and groups based on their race, gender, nationality. Whatever they could think of that was different received the spotlight of their attention. It caused the ideologies that they were challenging to actually become stronger. The emphasis that they placed on individuals and groups were stereotypical depictions that would prove to hurt more than they would help. They were hyper-focused on labeling everything and everyone. The tidy Virgo has a place for everything, and everything should be in its place. Charming when you want a clean house, but not so much when you want a happy society. There was so much power that came from the work they did on the social justice front. Power can be intoxicating, and watching their Leo parents take all the glory got old pretty fast. So they created a place for themselves as our saviors. They would create situations where they could at least appear to be the hero. Their actions garnered a tremendous amount of support, which equated to power for the Pluto and Virgo generation. A generation of people that felt very disempowered by the previous generation. They learned as long as there was division, there would always be a place for them from which to maintain some level of control. Are you seeing a theme for these generations yet? There's a real battle for control happening and has been for a very long time. The problem is that the power struggle has cost us, and it continues to cost us dearly as a society. It's limited our ability to move beyond our issues and to find real resolution to problems that I believe we have long since gotten past as a society. They've kept us stuck in outdated ideas and concepts while they play tug-of-war with our lives and our children's lives. On the home front, they worked hard for their place in society. As children of Leo, the builders of corporations, our Virgo generation became units in their parents' corporations and small businesses. Those who didn't fall into the plans of their Leo generation parents went on to create a place for themselves with careers and entrepreneurship. They became self-sufficient without the need for Leo generation's overly controlling influence. They were busy bees, like their Pluto and Leo parents, maybe a little too busy, as their relationships and Pluto and Scorpio children were placed second to pursuing their personal and community agendas. The divorce rate continued to rise as the birth rates continued to fall. They had a knack for pushing things aside in order to achieve higher goals. Their Pluto and Scorpio children were kept busy with school and extracurricular activities, video games, and creative classes. Although they were almost too busy even for their children, Virgo generation managed to influence their kids with the ideas, ideals, and concepts they were involved with. They impressed upon that generation to carry on their fight for social justice and environmental matters by teaching them how to come together and to use their voices collectively. The only problem is they were offering twice-baked potatoes. They hadn't eliminated the ideologies that their Leo generation parents created. They just created new rules around the same ideologies, then passed along these confusing concepts and outdated ideals to their children that didn't have the perspective or life experience that previous generations have had in their lives, and children that didn't have the kind of attention they needed to have understanding or to be grounded in the concepts that were at their feet. Pluto and Virgo were simply too distracted with their aspirations to really notice. They did have some incredibly high aspirations, even beyond environmental and social justice matters. This generation created the internet and the cell phone. Talk about Mercury energy. They empowered us to share our creativity, ideas, and concepts that made our lives easier with the things they created from the genuine desire to empower themselves and others. Virgo was so helpful to society when they weren't struggling for control with Leo generation. Our Virgo generation have a very big presence in society on so many levels today, from corporate positions to high levels of government. As the Leo generation fades into history, Virgo generation will become the keeper of the flame. Can we rely on them to carry our very fragile society to a better place? They have fantastical ideas, but still need the guidance of other generations to help manage their plans as to avoid the pitfalls of illusion that they've experienced in the past. Pluto and Virgo are in need of new perspectives to see the way out of the problems that are before us. Virgo generation would be best served to place focus on grounding themselves and holding to realistic perspectives. As they move into the positions left by Leo generation, I hope they will remember the power struggles of the past and be willing to work with the other generations in creating the future we all share. Take a moment to think about the past generations and ways that they have impacted the direction of the human collective. Can you think of other ways and situations that fit into the timelines of these generations? Thinking about how these generations have influenced us is incredibly interesting and enlightening. If we can learn from the experiences of the generations of the past, we can have a great opportunity to grow in strength as a collective. What will Pluto and Libra bring to the table? Find out in our next discussion on Sunday evening, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to get alerts when I release new videos. Thank you all for watching and supporting the channel.